What's up, everybody? And after watching Godzilla x Kong in 2021, I wasn't really sure that a follow-up sequel to that movie would have been the right move, because Godzilla x Kong in 2021 was just an okay movie with, some good action scenes showing Godzilla taking on King Kong. But I didn't really want it to continue because of the lack of story that was in that movie. So to find out that there's gonna be a Godzilla x Kong, the new empire, that will be released in 2024, March 29th, in my opinion, I was like, I do not know if I want to see a sequel to it. And come to find out, my suspicions were actually factual and were actually, right. Because Godzilla x Kong, the new empire, in my opinion, is a very bland movie story-wise. But action-wise, I do believe that it's actually very good. It's action-packed. If you just want mindless action sequences and fights, the story, it's not to be desired, because Bernie is the only funny guy in the movie. His jokes land most of the time, but Bernie was too much of a comic relief, and there's not really much focus on Godzilla and on King Kong, despite the title. It's mostly focused on a kid named Gia, who has a connection to the tribe called the Iwi tribe. The movie doesn't really have much emotional depth in their sequences and their scenes. Like, a lot of the characters, when a serious scene is about to happen, like with Eileen and Gia at the end of the movie, Eileen attempts to cry, but it seems like she just didn't really try too hard in the crying. Like, nobody had a real emotional depth. They just really had bland faces most of the time. Like, that did not keep me invested in the movie. The only thing that did keep me invested were the monster action scenes. The fight with Godzilla and King Kong was great, and then the final fight when they fought in Brazil, where they're destroying all the buildings, destroying everything, I did really like that. But the movie starts out as scientists detect a strange reading at the Hollow Earth access point. They're getting constant weird spikes in their data that it coincides and it's connected with Gia, and Gia is the daughter of Eileen Parker. So then Gia, she is at school, she's supposed to be listening to the teacher, and she's also deaf. But then as these radio spikes that the hollow access point are actually seeing, Gia is also seeing as well, and it causes her to draw and scribble a lot of weird stuff that she doesn't even know, because simultaneously she is having visions. Then it now causes her to be making a fool of herself, unfortunately, in class. So then after class, the teacher discusses with Eileen and says that it's hard for her to make friends, hard for her to find a real connection. It now causes Eileen, she works for Hollow Access Point. She now goes and finds Bernie and interrupts Bernie when he's in the middle of doing his blog. And then she asks Bernie that she needs help to decrypt the weird radio signals that the Hollow Access Point has been, seeing, and the weird drawings that Gia has been making. So Bernie reluctantly agrees. Then they're interrupted as she now detects movement from Godzilla as happening in Rome. The scene with Godzilla, in my opinion, he looks real cool as hell, and the CGI is very impressive when he rises up and walks through Rome. So then Gia as well, she notices the movement because the Hollow Access Point also has King Kong arriving there, which causes everyone on board to evacuate. King Kong CGI looks cool and it looks very incredible as he's lying down, and then Gia and Eileen now see King Kong, and Gia, with her sign language, can communicate with King Kong. But what's wrong with Kong is that he has a toothache that they now have to call Trapper to come and, help him with his toothache. Trapper eventually alleviates the pain with the toothache, And then Trapper now tells Eileen that he became a veterinarian of some sort for monsters. So then this is now interrupted as someone alerts Eileen that Bernie has finally decrypted the weird, strange radio signals and tells Eileen that it's actually a distress call. So this causes Eileen and Bernie, to discuss it with the Hollow Earth access point, and then they now have to find the source of this distress call before the government finds it first. So then Gia wants to go with Eileen on this mission, and then Eileen is skeptical about it. She doesn't really know if she wants Gia on board, but Gia says, we're family, everywhere you go, I go. Eileen now reluctantly, agrees for Gia and Bernie to come to the mission so that they can go down to the Hollow Earth access point. And then King Kong also joins them as well. With the team of Eileen, Trapper, Gia, Bernie, and Mikhail, they now finally go inside the portal leading inside the Earth access point. Then they now stop as they see one of their outposts was wreckage. They at first think that King Kong was a reason why it's destroyed and a lot of people were killed there, but it's actually something similar to King Kong that will be revealed later, but they didn't really touch upon it. I'll be honest with you, a lot of plot points, they didn't really touch upon it because this kind of says something happened, then they wouldn't really follow up with it. Then we now venture on to see King Kong, retrieving his weapon, his axe. Then he now goes inside the subterranean realm. He now sees a little ape who's hostile, and he's hostile for good reason because the little ape is a trap because King Kong is ambushed by more apes, and then a fight happens. The fight's pretty good in my opinion, and is very good when I see King Kong use the little ape to hit the other gorillas that's attempting to attack him. The fight ends when the ape now runs away. The little ape is about to run away too, but then Kong now kind of, forces him to stay and tells him that he needs to, or at least communicates to him that he needs to show me the source of this bone. Back to Eileen's team, they almost crashed because the signals were getting stronger at the ridge point. So then they now venture in. Bernie begins filming for his blog, but as the team go deeper into Hollow Earth, Trapper senses something wrong. It now leads to Mikhail being killed by some tree monster. This tree monsters aren't really brought upon back. This death scene was kind of so abrupt, I'll be honest with you. Nobody cared 20 minutes later. We now see that Godzilla is making his way through Spain and going into the ocean, trying to find Titania's Tamont, the largest pile of energy on Earth. So if he absorbs that, Godzilla could be very strong. But he's just going and absorbing stuff. He feels like a afterthought in the movie, despite the movie being titled Godzilla x King Kong. King Kong had more of a lead role more than Godzilla, but he too felt like a supporting character to Gia. In my opinion, Gia was the main character of this movie. The team of Gia, Eileen, and Trapper and Bernie, they discover a bioelectric wall that's the gateway to the source of the signal that they've been seeing. Then Gia tells Eileen that bioelectric wall is what she sees in her dream. Then King Kong and the little ape, they wash up at sea. Then the little ape plans to kill King Kong again because a snake sea monster comes from the ocean and attempts to kill King Kong. It doesn't work. As the ape is running away, King Kong throws the head of the sea monster in front of the ape, and it now grabs the ape again. But then the ape is seeing that King Kong is actually trying to protect him, so then the ape is starting to trust King Kong more. And I kind of like their friendship. I kind of like their bonding, because the little ape, he's just a little child, just following orders of his former people. So now he's seeing King Kong, he's being nice to him. So now he likes the treatment of King Kong. But the team of Eileen and them get eventually kidnapped initially by a human tribe that protects the energy source there. The team are introduced to the tribe's queen, and the queen calls for Gia to Eileen's disapproval. The queen meets Gia, they embrace and allow the team to come forth. They learn the beacon they've been following is the Iwi tribe calling for help. the team discovers that at first the Iwi tribe were at peace with the surface world, but the war with the apes and Godzilla changed everything. We see Kong and the little ape go and see a tribe full of apes. Underworld, Kong knocks out an ape bullying one of the apes, which causes the king of the apes, the Scar King. So then after the Scar King now arrives, he now starts to fight King Kong. As they're fighting, and I guess abruptly stopped because Scar King now releases a Godzilla type monster, Shimu, to kill King Kong. And the power is like ice, so then it causes King Kong to have like frostbite. So King Kong eventually runs away, and the little ape runs away too. Then as he's running away, Scar King tells the gorillas to follow King Kong. Then he's following King Kong. Kong is almost cornered, about to die because the apes have cornered him. Then the little ape comes to now save King Kong from death, showing that the little ape and King Kong, their trust is building. So that's the only thing in the movie that I like, is their relationship. That's the only thing I like about the movie, because at least you actually see it grow. Then as we see the team back, Eileen is wondering, maybe this is Gia's home. Maybe this will be Gia's, new home, because she feels a connection that she never felt on Earth or on the surface world. But this is interrupted because an alarm showing King Kong and the little ape have arrived where the team is, but Kong collapses due to frostbite. So then they now think of a way called Project Powerhouse to save King Kong's life. Due to the frostbite, they give King Kong a cybernetic arm, and then to heal the frostbite, the cybernetic arm wasn't really touched upon later. It was just a plot device to heal King Kong, I guess. But then King Kong has to go back to Earth, to Egypt, to find Godzilla and to get Godzilla on his side. Then Godzilla and Kong eventually fight each other because Godzilla, they have prior beef, but the fight's interrupted because Gia is the chosen one, I guess, of the tribe. Then because she's the last person that was in the tribe on the surface world. So then they don't interrupt the fight. The fight was a really good fight. They should have not interrupted the fight, in my opinion, because I really liked how King Kong was beating up Godzilla. Then Godzilla and King Kong now go back to the Earth Access Hollow Point to fight Scar King, who's now there. They start to fight. I did not like the fight at first because they used that gravity subplot that made no sense because it didn't apply later. After the gravity stuff was done, they now got transported to Brazil on the beach. This is where I really liked the fight. It was really intense. It was really great. But that's the only great part of the movie, because that's where the movie ends. The last fight was a good part of the movie. The movie ends with the Scar King. His control over Shimu is done. So Shimu, King Kong, and Godzilla all work together to beat the Scar King. They now kill the Scar King. The movie's done. And in my opinion, nothing really happens in the movie. There's no real growth of the movie. The only thing that grew was the relationship with King Kong and the little ape, because Gia, you would think that she'll try to live with the tribe, but no, she just wants to go back home. To add some little thing, they can have made Gia at least stay with the tribe to learn about her family, then go back home to Eileen. In my opinion, this movie was a little waste of time. Despite the great fight scenes and the CGI, the plot, I knew it was going to be bad. So I would not recommend this movie, in my opinion. As the end of the video, I'm out. Peace.